So you guys may or may not remember the IDW, aka the Intellectual Dark Web. It was a group that was founded back in early 2018. It had Joe Rogan, the Weinstein brothers, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Dave Rubin, and a couple of other people as well. But that was kind of the core of the group. I don't know if Ben Shapiro was included in that or not. Actually, it escapes me right now. But basically, the lineup of the intellectual dark web is because a lot of people like to make up their own names. There was a New York Times article that sort of introduced them as a group. That's their lineup. I don't remember if Ben Shapiro was pictured in the bushes or whatever. I forgot. But that was essentially the group. Now, Sam Harris was part of the group, but he was kind of the odd man out there because everybody else was sort of either sympathetic to Trump and was kind of scared to criticize Trump because too much of their audience was in favor of Trump, or they were just outright supporters of Donald Trump, right? Or like apologists for the guy. Whereas Sam Harris, since day one, actually since before the election, has been an incredibly vocal critic of Donald Trump. Now he's more of a vocal critic on the grounds of he's a pathological liar and he's a con man, a fraud, all this kind of stuff. So it's more the liberal stuff, but it comes from I think more of a, I think it comes more from he's a neuroscientist, so I'm guessing it comes a lot from that arena, which is fine. It makes sense. Now he would always take little shots at members of the intellectual dark web, even back in early 2018, and he would throw like thinly veiled shots of it's embarrassing. This something like it's embarrassing that I'm the only one that criticizes Donald Trump in this group. He would throw in little jabs like that, but it would never make headlines. And even like a year later or something like that, he was talking about how he didn't like the intellectual dark web. And now with the election of Joe Biden and the shit show that has preceded the loss of Donald Trump, before the lame duck period has even ended, Sam Harris is announcing that he has rescinded his membership to the intellectual dark web.
Insofar as I've noticed what others in the so-called intellectual dark web have been saying, it's generally not something I want to be associated with. I don't want to single anyone out in particular, but allow me to take this moment to turn in my imaginary membership card to this imaginary organization. I mean, the IDW was always tongue-in-cheek from my point of view. It was a funny name for a group of people who were willing to discuss difficult topics in public, mostly on podcasts, but it never made sense for us to be grouped together as though we shared a common worldview. I never saw much downside to it, and I didn't much think about it. But in the aftermath of this election, with some members of this fictional group sounding fairly bonkers, I just want to make it clear that I'm not part of any group, right? So if you want to criticize my ideas, that's great. But I only represent myself here, and no one else speaks for me.
So yeah, I guess that's official. Sam Harris has made his exit from the intellectual dark web. Now, the first guy that obviously comes out and sort of screams at you when he's talking about people who've gone bonkers, it's easily Dave Rubin, okay? I even just saw a clip of him like a couple days ago where he basically explained that, Donald Trump can still win this election. He's got something up his sleeve. Dave Rubin is either one of two things. He's either just an extremely dedicated grifter and a sellout, or he's legitimately delusional. I don't know which one it is. I'm tempted to go with the former, but I'm not 100% sure. It's really hard to tell. But Sam Harris, like I said, has been throwing thinly veiled shots at a lot of people. I saw some people saying that he threw Brett Weinstein under the bus. So I don't know if there's been any beef between Sam Harris and Brett Weinstein, either of the Weinstein brothers. I also have not seen a collaboration between Sam Harris and Joe Rogan in a long time. I think their last appearance was, I don't know, like a year or more ago, something like that. We know he hasn't collaborated with Dave Rubin for a long time. By the way, Sam Harris is really the reason why Dave Rubin's show, got its boost in the beginning, because his interviews on Dave Rubin were really big for his channel, that being for Dave Rubin, of course. So I don't know, he might be regretting that as well. But, it's definitely interesting to see. Also worth noting, Sam Harris obviously had really heated debates with Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro on topics of religion and such. So, he's always been at odds with them, and he really has been the only one who's really genuinely been willing to be an outspoken critic of Donald Trump. Any of the other people, even if you say they don't support Donald Trump, right? They're always very scared to criticize Trump, or they just straight up never do. Or if they do, they coach it with a spoonful of sugar or something like that, because they're scared, because their audience is sort of going to turn on them or whatever, they're going to lose fans. The one time, remember, Jordan Peterson went after Brett Kavanaugh, he caved into the mob because he was worried about losing money. Jordan Peterson is a clown. Like that one time he actually criticized conservatives and actually, voiced his opinion on that. He backed down when he said, I never back down to the mob. But when it's a right-wing mob, you back down because that's where the money's at. So Jordan Peterson is a fraud as well. So the intellectual dark web is really full of a bunch of jokes, to be completely honest with you. And I think Sam Harris has known that for a while now. But the intellectual dark web hasn't really been a thing for a long, long time. In fact, I'm not even really sure when the last time that the intellectual dark web has been a thing. Because the intellectual dark web has really been dead for, I would say, at least a year now, but maybe even a year and a half, genuinely. So, intellectual dark web is over. It was kind of garbage from the jump, to be honest with you, in my personal opinion. But interesting to see, man. Definitely interesting to see what has happened.